Okay, we're good.
Speak for him.
All right, looks like it's in order.
I will call the regular meeting of Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 to order. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas,
Here.
Ms. Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Horvath, Mrs. Sensi,
Here.
and Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sensi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 11th, 2022?
I'll move.
I'll second. I'm trying to see why I can't keep up with this here. Am I missing the October 11?
It's number 5.
Down here, under A.
But then what was number 4? Approval of.
Approval of the agenda.
I'm, okay, I see how this is going. Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sensi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Anyone wishing to give a board member report this evening? All right, we don't have anyone registered for public participation. Move on to reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
I would like to recommend resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Could you explain what this is for?
Sure. So this is a yearly report that every school district in Lake County has to report to the county auditor. It's just basically stating what our levies are currently collecting on, and it's just reporting to them what the amounts will be for the year.
Okay. So this isn't anything for a new levy, this is just a report that we give?
This is just the existing levies, the millage it's collecting, a yearly report.
Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, I would like to recommend the approval of the financial statements for November 2022.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just had one quick question. With all of these then and now certificates, I thought we were kind of curbing the then and now type of thing.
Yeah, so I went on, I'm going back and forth. You know, the audit, our board policy, I believe, is up to 3,000, but for transparency purposes, I started putting all of them on there. So it can be adjusted where I just do the $3,000 limit threshold again. It's whatever you prefer.
We'll talk about it. I don't think that the little 165, 147, I mean, it's up to your $15. It's up to you all what limit you would like. I don't really need to see those minimal amounts, but
I'm comfortable with 3,000. Is everyone else comfortable with that
Yeah,
amount?
I'm okay with that.
I'm good.
Okay.
For future then. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Ms. Hayes.
yes.
Motion passes. Next is the then and now certificates for November 2022.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up are the donations. So we received a generous donation of wreaths from North Elementary School, South Elementary School, Madison Middle School, Madison High School, and Madison Pre-K Board of Education from the Madison Garden Club to be used as holiday decorations. We received a generous donation of 4 pairs of winter gloves and a backpack from Chief Matthew Byers of the Madison Township Police Department to North Elementary School to be used for their winter clothing closet. We received a generous donation of 18 pairs of winter gloves from Jennifer Ganshorn to North Elementary School to be used for their winter clothing closet. And we received a generous donation of $100 from Walmart Vision and Glasses to a student in need.
And the 500 to Madison Boosters Club? Or
Oh,
from
correct.
Madison?
A generous donation of $500 from the Madison Boosters Club to Madison High School to be used by the Student Council and PBIS Committee.
Thank you. I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you very much to everyone who donated. Roll call?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Report to the administrative team.
Really, there's no report tonight, as I think we're all anxiously awaiting the drawing over at the high school this evening for the Chevy Equinox that the Madison Recreation District sponsored, along with the Chevy Network Dealers and Classic Chevrolet of Madison. So we'll keep it very, very brief. I have one item just to throw out there, is that within the first 15 days of the school year, or calendar year in January, we have to have our organizational meeting. In the last couple years, we have done the organizational meeting along with the regular business meeting, and we're looking at January 11th. January, whatever that second Tuesday is. So 10th, is it the 10th,
I
Sarah?
think it was the 10th.
Yeah, January 10th. So, if anybody sees a problem with that, I'll send the update out later this week. You can let me know, but it's because Monday's the holiday and people are off. Trying to put that whole agenda together over the Christmas break is a little challenging, so that's why we're proposing the second Tuesday.
Okay.
Yep. And at that, we'll have a draft calendar for meetings for the year and the update this week, okay? To give you things to think about.
Okay.
All right? And there is the update. Ready for the recommendation?
I've just got one quick question. Do we have an update as to how much money we raised?
Oh, well, they're selling tickets as we speak.
Oh, okay.
But we had 3,700 tickets sold this afternoon. I think it was. or
This
Friday.
after, okay, total
33,
up
wait a
to.
minute. Let me look on my
33
update.
something.
It was 3372, that's right. 3372.
Okay.
And after he had given me that number, I gave him 10 tickets. And he was busily selling at the Kenston games, freshman and JV.
He's
That's what
awesome
Dave's
over
done.
there.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, he is
He's had
a
a
selling
ball
machine.
Who's this?
Dave,
Blows me away over there.
Dave, I will say, Dave Bull has done an outstanding job with this car raffle. He has really helped out the rec board in coordinating, selling. He drove it in the village parade.
Nice.
So he's had a good time with it. But I think he'll be happy that tomorrow that it's done. So, and that's it from the administrative team this evening. Ready for the recommendations?
Sure.
Okay, under the employment motion this evening, we have several items to employ April Leppelmeyer under a long-term substitute teacher contract from January 3rd, 2023 through March 1st, 2023 to perform the duties of Erica Ciani. Each of the following substitute teachers is approved by the Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve and the Madison Local School District's Assistant Superintendent under a one-year limited substitute teacher contract, Rachel Kewen, and the following persons as casual day-to-day substitutes, Jessica Gill Ronan, Leanna Ruff, and Heather Welch.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
And Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then we have a memorandum of understanding between the Madison Local School District and the Madison Education Association to modify the payment of insurance stipends to coincide with the calendar year as per terms and conditions as found on file at the board office.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
And Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And next we have a retirement resolution. We already approved the retirement last spring for Holly Funk, who has been with us 32 years. She will be retiring effective December 31st of this year.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say, she's a special education teacher, and she's done a lot of different work with multiple different categories of students, and so when I came on board, she also was very helpful, and she's been very beneficial to the program that we have.
Thank you for your years of service.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
And Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and this is the second reading and adoption of the board policy updates that I presented at the November 22nd meeting, beginning with 1617 weapons and ending with 8600 transportation.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
And Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And on the consent calendar this evening, we have 4 items. The first is to approve a student enrichment trip for Madison school students to travel to the Alps and Mediterranean coast, not cost, during the summer of 2024, accompanied by their chaperones Becky Barton and Kelly Chandler, pursuant to board policy 2340.
I volunteer to go to that with them. I think that would be very good if I, went there. Chaperone as a board member, I will.
And authorize entering into an agreement with Education EF Tours, a student travel company based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, to provide carrier and related services for the trip, subject to the limitations of ORC 3301-83-16. Enacting on behalf of the board, the superintendent or designee shall condition signature on any agreement upon the availability of funds from the trip from sources other than the school district's general fund, and final approval for the trip upon a demonstrated interest by a reasonable number of participating selected students. So in other words, in all that legalese, students are paying for their own trip. And again, the following 3 trips are all paid for by the students themselves to participate. To approve a trip to Niagara Falls, USA, scheduled for May 19, 2023 for MMS 6th graders, and to authorize the superintendent to impose a student participation fee in the amount of $174 per student. This agreement is entered into R&E Tours. With R&E Tours. The next one is to approve a Washington, D.C. Gettysburg trip scheduled for April 12th through 14th for the MSS 8th grade students, and to authorize the superintendent to impose a student participation fee in the amount of $435 per student. And this is entered into with 20th Century Tours. And then the next one is to approve a Columbus, Ohio trip scheduled for April 21st, 2023, and to authorize the superintendent to impose a student participation fee in the amount of $152 per student. And again, this is with 20th Century Tours.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
And Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So we do not have a need for executive session
We do not.
tonight, so we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Oh, really quick,
Yes.
we did not present our cover today. You got a picture of that?
It is super
And
sweet.
who is it?
Well, we aren't saying because that is going home to a parent as a gift. So
Oh,
that is why we did not say who it is.
Yeah, Michelle.
Okay, way to
That's
blow
okay,
it.
but no, we don't know who it is, so we're just showing it off for the whole community.
oh, okay, good.
Surprise.
Way to ruin it, Michelle.
Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Motion